London, September 1666. The city breathes wood. Imagine a labyrinth where every street is a narrow corridor between houses that literally hang over the pavement. The second floor juts out over the first, the third over the second. Residents of neighboring houses could shake hands from their windows without stepping outside. This isn't a romantic picture, it's a trap, a compressed spring waiting for a spark. Let's try to reconstruct this district using artificial intelligence technologies to see what it looked like before everything changed forever. We walk along Pudding Lane, a narrow, somewhat grimy street in the southeastern part of the city. It smells of fresh bread, smoke from chimneys, river dampness. To the left, the Thames; to the right, the dense development of Old London. Houses here have stood since the 14th, 15th century. Their timber-frame structures are coated with tar for protection against moisture, tar that burns like a torch. King James I, back in 1605, ordered that new houses be built only from brick and stone. He feared fires and preserved wood for the fleet. But the old city doesn't rebuild in a day. In 1666, most of London is still made of wood. Tiled roofs, wooden walls, tar-covered beams. The city is enormous kindling, waiting for wind. It's now the night between the 2nd and 3rd of September. On Pudding Lane, in the house of, well, there were no numbers then, in Thomas Farriner's bakery. Farriner is the king's baker, a respected man, a church warden. His ovens work every day, supplying bread to the neighborhood and military ships. This evening, he, as usual, closed the dampers and went to bed. But something went wrong. Perhaps the coals weren't fully extinguished. Perhaps a spark slipped through a crack. Around 1 in the morning, smoke begins seeping from the bakery. Farriner wakes from suffocation. Smoke crawls under the bedroom door, thick, black. Downstairs, fire is already blazing. He grabs his daughter. They escape through a second-floor window, climb onto the roof of a neighboring house. The maid refuses to jump. She's afraid of heights. She stays inside. When the house collapses, she'll become the first victim of the Great Fire of London. History hasn't preserved her name. Neighbors try to extinguish the fire with buckets. An hour of struggle. Nothing helps. They call the parish constables. They look and make a decision. Neighboring houses need to be demolished, creating a gap so the fire won't spread further. But homeowners protest. Destroying someone's house is a serious matter, requiring the Lord Mayor's permission. A messenger rushes to wake Sir Thomas Bloodworth. Pish. A woman might piss it out. He turns around and goes back to sleep. This decision will cost London half the city. It's not just the mayor's overconfidence, it's the wind. This night, a strong easterly wind blows, fresh, stubborn, coming from the Thames. It catches sparks and hurls them onto neighboring roofs. Fire leaps from house to house like a living creature. By 3 o'clock in the morning, flames are already devouring Fish Street. By 4, London Bridge is burning. Narrow streets work like chimneys, creating draft. The fire accelerates. Samuel Pepys, an Admiralty official and the most famous chronicler of the era, wakes at 3 in the morning. Maid Jane knocks on his door. "Sir, there's a great fire in the city." Pepys gets up, goes to the window, looks. The flames are somewhere far away, beyond Mark Lane. He thinks, far enough, and goes back to sleep. In the morning, he learns that 300 houses have already burned. Sunday, September 2nd. The city begins to burn. Sunday morning. London wakes in smoke. Pepys hurries to the tower, climbs one of the towers, and sees something that takes his breath away. Fire has engulfed both ends of London Bridge. An endless fiery front stretches along the river. Houses burn like candles. Flames reflect in the Thames. The river has turned into a mirror of hell. Let's try to reconstruct this panorama. Imagine, thick smoke rises in columns. Sparks swirl in the air like snow. You hear the crack of beams, the crash of collapsing walls, people's screams. In the streets, chaos. People carry things from houses, drag chests, furniture, throw it all right onto the pavement when they realize fire is catching them faster than they can run. Pepys rides to the lieutenant of the tower. He confirms. The fire started in the King's Baker's shop on Pudding Lane. St. Magnus Church has burned. All of Fish Street is already aflame. Pepys rushes to the river and sees a sight worthy of tears. Fire moves north, west. The city tries to save itself, but there are almost no tools. Buckets, hand pumps, hooks for demolishing burning beams. In the royal chapel, he's surrounded by courtiers. Everyone wants news. He's summoned to King Charles II and the Duke of York. Pepys reports, "Your Majesty, if you don't order houses demolished immediately, nothing will stop the fire." The King and Duke look shocked. Charles gives the order. "Ride to the Lord Mayor in my name. Tell him, spare not a single house. Demolish everything in the fire's path." Pepys returns to the city and finds Bloodworth. The Lord Mayor no longer looks self-confident. He's pale, exhausted, hasn't slept all night. When Pepys conveys the King's order, Bloodworth responds like a weeping woman. "Lord, what can I do? I'm worn out. People won't obey. I demolish houses, but the fire outruns us." He refuses additional soldiers and goes to rest. The city burns, and command is effectively paralyzed. By noon, the fire moves north. Rumors spread faster than flames. It's arson, a conspiracy of the French, the Dutch. England has just been at war with Holland. The country is on edge. Armed mobs appear in the streets, searching for foreign agents. Soldiers patrol neighborhoods, catching supposed arsonists. Panic multiplies. By 3 in the afternoon, the King and Duke of York personally arrive on the royal barge. They sail along the burning shore, trying to assess the scale of the disaster. Charles II, a king who survived civil war and exile, understands. If the city burns, the crown loses its foundation. People begin mass evacuation. Carts clog the streets. Wagons overturn. Belongings lie in the mud. Crowds flee north, to Moorfields, to Finsbury Fields, to open spaces beyond the old walls. Some go east to Tower Hill. The city turns into a river of refugees. Monday, September 3rd. The heart of the city falls. Monday's dawn greets London in ashes. Fire hasn't stopped during the night, it's grown. Pepys at 4 in the morning begins evacuating his own possessions. He takes things to Bethnal Green, to Sir William Ryder's. Among other things, papers, money and parmesan with wine, which he buries in the garden. This detail seems funny, but it shows survival logic. People save what's valuable and durable. By 5 in the morning, fire reaches the eastern end of Cannon Street. The last issue of the London Gazette comes out. It informs citizens about the catastrophe, though everyone already knows. By 8 in the morning, King Charles appears at Queenhithe, one of the old wharfs. He spends half an hour there, personally encouraging teams that are demolishing houses and removing flammable goods. The king works alongside commoners, a gesture that will be remembered. At 9 in the morning, the Duke of York takes command of operations. He organizes fire posts, teams of 100 civilians and 30 soldiers at key points. Temple Bar, Clifford's Inn Gardens, Fetter Lane, Shoe Lane, Cow Lane. This is an attempt to create defensive lines, but fire doesn't follow plans. By 10 in the morning, flames reach Lombard Street and Gracechurch Street, the wealthiest places in London. Fire approaches Cornhill and the Royal Exchange, the Exchange Building, symbol of the city's trading power. People carry out treasures, books, accounting records. Some try to hide goods in church cellars. Stone should protect. But fire is so strong that it melts lead roofs, and molten metal flows down the streets like lava. At 2 in the afternoon, the first militia from the surrounding areas arrives to help extinguish, control the crowd, prevent looting. Cornhill and the Royal Exchange catch fire. Another hour later, Lombard Street is completely destroyed. Streets are so clogged with people and wagons that authorities ban the use of carts. They only create traffic jams and hinder evacuation. In the evening, at 9 o'clock, Baynard's Castle catches fire, an ancient Norman fortress on the Thames bank. Simultaneously, a desperate operation begins at the tower. Soldiers demolish houses around the fortress, creating a protective perimeter. The tower cannot be lost. Gunpowder, weapons, the royal treasury are stored there. If fire reaches the arsenal, the explosion will destroy half of London. Let's try to imagine what the city looks like this night. The fire front stretches for several kilometers. Smoke rises so high it's visible 100 miles away. The heat is so intense that people cannot approach even the edge of the fire. Sparks scatter hundreds of meters, igniting roofs ahead of the main front. This is no longer a fire, it's a firestorm. Tuesday, Wednesday, September 4 to 5th. The king gives workers 100 guineas, both reward and incentive. Money works, people double their efforts. At 6 in the morning at Cripplegate, they begin using new tactics. Houses aren't demolished by hand, they're blown up with gunpowder. This is faster, more effective, but also more dangerous. Explosions thunder throughout the city. At 2 in the afternoon, fire approaches Guildhall, the City Hall, the administrative centre of the city. This is a stone building, constructed in the 15th century. People hastily evacuate thousands of documents, records, charters, the city's memory, and hide them in the crypt. But fire is so strong that even stone walls don't save it. The roof collapses, the interior burns out. Simultaneously, the prisons of Ludgate and Newgate catch fire. Prisoners are transferred to Southwark Prison on the south bank of the Thames, but many escape in the chaos. The city loses control. In the streets, the crowd tries to lynch the Portuguese ambassador. He's mistaken for an arsonist simply because he's a foreigner. At 8 in the evening, an event occurs that will shock everyone. St. Paul's Cathedral catches fire. Old St. Paul's, a huge Gothic cathedral, built back in the Middle Ages. Its spire was the tallest in Europe until it collapsed from a lightning strike a century earlier. Now the cathedral stands without a spire, but still majestic, with massive stone walls and a lead roof. Flames engulf the roof. Lead begins to melt and flow in streams down the walls, onto the square. Inside the cathedral, booksellers had stored thousands of books. They hoped stone would protect their goods. Books ignite. The heat becomes unbearable. Stone columns crack from the temperature. By morning, a charred skeleton remains of the cathedral. On the night into Wednesday, at 2 o'clock, authorities take extreme measures. They begin blowing up buildings along the Strand, the aristocratic street leading to Westminster. This is the last line of defence. If fire crosses here, it will reach the royal palace. But a miracle happens. The wind, which for 4 days has driven fire west and north, suddenly dies down. Without wind, flames lose strength. Explosions create sufficiently wide gaps. Fire begins to exhaust itself, burn locally, lose coherence. Thursday, September 6th. Ash and rebirth. Thursday morning, the 6th of September. At 8 o'clock they announce, fire is stopped. The city still smoulders, ruins smoulder. In places the ground is so hot it's impossible to walk on. But fire no longer spreads. At noon, King Charles II comes out to the people. He addresses a crowd of refugees in Moorfields and delivers a speech. He officially declares, the fire was an accident, not a foreign conspiracy. He calls for calm. He promises help to those who lost their homes. This is an important moment. The city is on the verge of riot, and the king's words hold the situation back from explosion. Let's try to reconstruct the scale of destruction using maps and data from that time. About 4/5 of the old city, the heart of London, burned. 13,200 houses destroyed. 87 parish churches, St. Paul's Cathedral, Guildhall, the Royal Exchange. 4 of 7 city gates, 6 prisons, dozens of guild halls. Financial losses are estimated at £10 million, a colossal sum, equivalent to the country's annual budget. Officially, 6 people died. This figure is carved on the monument, the column later erected in memory of the fire. But historians are certain the real number of victims was much higher. The poor didn't make it into records. Heat was so intense that many bodies could have completely incinerated, leaving no trace. And most importantly, many died not in the fire itself, but after, from injuries, diseases, cold. 70 to 80,000 people were left homeless. They live in tent camps in fields around the city, in ruins, in barns. Autumn arrives, and behind it, harsh winter. Diseases spread in overcrowded temporary settlements, hunger, despair. But just 5 days after the fire ended, on the 11th of September, architect Christopher Wren presents the king with a reconstruction plan for London. Wren is a young, brilliant scientist, mathematician, only recently returned from Paris, where he studied Baroque architecture. His plan is radical. Wide, straight streets instead of medieval alleys, spacious squares, canals, stone embankments, buildings in neat blocks. London as a new Rome. It's too complicated to redraw property, compensate landowners. But elements of his ideas will come to life. Parliament quickly passes the Rebuilding Act. All new buildings, only from brick or stone. Streets must be wider. Wren receives the position of Royal Surveyor of Works, and over the next 40 years will rebuild 51 churches and the new St. Paul's Cathedral, the one that stands to this day with its famous dome. The Great Fire destroyed medieval London, but it also gave the city a chance to be reborn. New London will be safer, more orderly, more modern. Ash will become the foundation for a city that will rule the seas and build an empire. It's hard to imagine that one spark could change the capital's fate. But the story of the Great Fire is a reminder of civilization's fragility, of how quickly order can turn to chaos, and that sometimes destruction opens the path to a new beginning. London burned, and London rose from the ashes.